that were available to people, I would have said the Scarborough subway was one of them, and not just in Scarborough. I mean, I remember having an exchange with Karen Stintz, you know, when she was still in the race in East York, and she said, well, you know, why should people in East York have to pay? A lot of them wonder why they should have to pay for a Scarborough subway. And I said, Karen, with the greatest of respect, I remember the exchange very well because Rob Ford was still there too, it was when he was still in the race. I said, Karen, with the greatest of respect, if we run the city on that basis where everybody gets to pick the projects they want to fund with their taxes, then we really should just give up on having one city. But we build things in the city on the basis that having proper transit in Scarborough is good for the entire city. And so, but it was debated every night in one way or another. And so all I'm saying is, Sean, that when the people, not once but actually 3 different times, had a choice to pick candidates who said, you know, that they would prefer an LRT to a subway or said no to a subway, all 3 times. And I don't mention the 4th often because it's one by-election. That was the one in Scarborough before. But then a provincial election where it clearly was an issue in Scarborough, maybe not an issue citywide. The federal election where it was clearly an issue in Scarborough, and if you look, pro-subway candidates won pretty well every one of those seats, I think, without exception. And then in our election, I would argue it was more of a citywide issue where the notion of subways versus LRTs, Scarborough subway versus not Scarborough subway was clearly on the table. And I'm not saying the entire election turned on it, but I am saying that in the case of the Scarborough subway, the Bloor-Danforth subway extension, actually the 2 candidates who stood in support of that got 80% of the vote. So if there was a strong groundswell the other way, where people were really saying, no, we don't think that subway should be built, and we think there should be no subway, it should be an LRT, then I would have thought that candidates who took that point of view would have done better. So I'm not saying that it was a one-issue election on which it was a referendum, as you say, with one question saying, should we build it or not? The answer was, you know, but I'm saying it was clearly on the table, it was debated every night, it was in the minds of voters across the city, not just in Scarborough. And it was debated in every part of the city, not just in Scarborough, and that you have 3 elections, not one. And you know, in some respects, I sort of wonder on many other issues, and this is back to this point that Don sort of was asking about, or that I gave the answer, saying, well, the forces against it just have never given up. In many other circumstances, if you had a situation where in 3 different elections, you had voters who had at least to some extent cast their vote on the basis of that issue, and now people are sort of somehow suggesting that's illegitimate or it doesn't have any legitimacy, people would be outraged. You know, if you sort of say, oh, that doesn't really count, so they didn't really mean that, or nobody explained it to them, or, you know, whatever. I think it wasn't so much 3-stop, 5-stop, 1-stop, 10-stop. The question was subway, LRT. That part of people understood, and that was on the table. And I think it was on the table sufficiently that I certainly take that I have a mandate to move ahead with it, and buttressed by the mandates that were given to the other 2 governments similarly.